I'm going to ask our good senator the question that is front and center on many Alaskans' minds, which is, how do you see the United States finding its way to having an Arctic port in the state of Alaska? What would the process look like that would get us there, and how quickly could it happen?
Well, there are several opportunities. I have said that we don't need just one Arctic port in Alaska. We need a system of ports. We've got 33,000 miles of coastline in Alaska. That's a lot of room for ports. And so the fact that north of Unalaska Dutch Harbor, we really don't have a port is simply not acceptable. We're making progress with NOAA in terms of advancing the study for their deep draft port. That's going to be important. There are opportunities in Port Clarence. There are opportunities for us. But again, these need to be national priorities. This cannot be an Alaska-specific earmark or ask. These need to be national priorities for us to be positioned for all of the activity that we are seeing today and we know is just going to continue to grow.
Well, I could ask you whether or not you see any progress toward them becoming national priorities, but I'm afraid I might know the answer and don't want to hear it.
Don't ask it.
Is there anyone in the audience ready to ask a question?
You got one over
here. There's a gentleman right there. Yes, sir.
Good morning. I'm Richard Benville. I'm the mayor of Nome.
Hello, Central.
Hello, Central. So good to see you.
Hello, Central. That's an inside joke from those Americans who know about Broadway.
Well, thank you. My question is obviously about the expansion of our port and broadening that to other areas. ADAC has been a discussion. Port Clarence has been a discussion. How in the United States, Senator, do you see the best way forward for emphasizing to the public of the United States the importance of the ports and our involvement in the far north? How do we continue to grow with that?
I think our first problem is just a failure to recognize what we have, or more importantly, what we don't have in the Arctic. I think if you were to ask most Americans, when you look at the map of Alaska and you look at all that coastline, and you ask a simple question, well, we have Arctic ports, do we not? They would be shocked to know that we simply do not have an Arctic port. We don't have anything above the Arctic Circle there. And then again, the closest that we have currently is in Dutch Harbor, Unalaska. So I think the first step is awareness and education. And this can't just come from the Alaska senators. This needs to come from everybody in terms of what is the value, why is it important that we be able to either move things from a commerce perspective through the Bering Straits down to Asia and beyond. What is that value to a person who lives in Iowa? What is the value from a defense perspective to have a safe port? What is the value from a search and rescue perspective? And we need to do a better job of educating not only people in the United States, but around the globe. Although I think, in fairness, people outside of the country probably have a better understanding of our lack of infrastructure.
You know, that's an interesting thought. Could we do just a quick show of hands, since this is a wonderfully representative international audience? How many in this audience know that there is no real Arctic port in Alaska? Interesting.
It is. That is very interesting. Wow. We got some work to do.
Yeah. So my follow-up would be, once we establish a port that's somewhere near the Bering Strait to facilitate the future transport over the North Pole, whenever that day comes, what would you think the odds are that we'd have a rail line that might connect that port to the rest of the North American continent in terms of cargo?
When you have a port, then you have opportunities. There's no reason to put a rail line in if you don't have something going out the other end. And so it's kind of one of these horse before the cart type of a thing. But in my view, you have to have the basic infrastructure, which is the port. And while we're talking about ports and that value, I think another piece of this that is perhaps also not well understood is our understanding of the mapping and charting in this area, in the Bering Straits area, and really all around the U.S. Arctic.
Yeah.
We have so much work to do when it comes to ensuring that we have accurate mapping and charting.
Some of the soundings, many of you may not realize this, those soundings were last done by Captain Cook.
With a lead sinker. True story.
Okay.
You've got one over here, too.
Question, yes.
Hello, my name's Emma Ashlock. I'm from the University of Alaska Fairbanks. And obviously, we can see that the United States isn't as looking to the Arctic as the rest of the world, as we can see here by this amazing representation. So my question is, how can we get the rest of the United States on board to be looking to the Arctic and all the opportunities that are in the Arctic?
I think we have different ways to gain the attention. Unfortunately, it seems that most of them come with concerns. So many look to the Arctic, the U.S. Arctic, and all they think about is climate change, which of course is one serious and critical aspect of what we deal with in the Arctic, whether the U.S. Arctic or around the globe. But there are other issues that, again, how you attract the attention of the rest of a country that is perhaps not plugged into it. So the benefits that we are seeing with the opportunity for shipping, how do you make that real again to the person in Iowa? How do we share some of the innovation that I was talking about a little bit earlier? This may be one of the ways that we can get a little bit of attention and focus when you're innovating and pioneering again in areas that are very high cost, that are geographically remote, small population, and you can apply those same innovative technologies elsewhere in the country. Maybe you get a better sense of, okay, what is going on in the Arctic there? We've got tourism opportunities, most certainly, but I would suggest that so many come to the U.S. Arctic and they don't really see the Arctic. They come up on a cruise ship, they have a nice trip in the southeastern part of the state, they might get to Anchorage, but they don't have that full-on opportunity. I know that up in Nome, we just heard from our mayor there, they're looking to bring additional tourism into the region, which also gets the interest and the attention. So much of this is education. My hope is that it's education in a positive way and not responding to something that has been a calamity. I don't want to have a vessel go on the rocks because we have not adequately charted in a region. So I don't want to have an issue where we have a whaling crew that is struck by a vessel moving through because we haven't been able to allow for a monitoring and to provide for their safety. I want to make sure that the eyes of the country are focused on the Arctic as a plus and a positive component to what makes us a great nation.
Well, sadly, we're out of time. We
Too
could
quick.
have gone for another hour, but we know there are pressing subjects ahead
Come
and other
to the
wonderful
Alaska
speakers.
things this afternoon. I'm
Exactly.
promoting my Alaskans.
Please all.
Thank you.
you so much,
Thanks, Alice.
Senator.